Why are you taking this step now? I mean, obviously the timing's right for an opening.
Yeah, there's 2 openings, 2 and 18. I believe that I'm right now qualified, highly qualified for the job. Appellate judge, trial lawyer for 27 years, in not just in Ohio. I had cases, obviously from Cincinnati as far north as Cleveland and all around the state, but also I had a national practice, which is kind of unusual for Cincinnati. I had like 1.1 million frequent flyer points, traveled all around the country. I've tried cases in Texas and California and oral arguments in the 10th Circuit in Denver, the 2nd Circuit in New York. I don't know how to describe it. I just call it an emotional moment. While I was voting for president, I realized I was voting for president in the election. I just contested in the U.S. District Court, the 6th Circuit, and the U.S. Supreme Court all in 24 hours before casting that ballot. No tanks like in Turkey, no riots like in South America a year ago during one of their presidents. The American legal system worked. And each time it was because of one judge. And that I remember knocking on my head because the voting booth was all plastic, that if my wife would agree to a major change in our lifestyles, that I would give up my legal career at the right time and run for judge. And I ran in 10, became the first Republican to beat the name Mallory in Hamlin County in 40 years. But it's been a journey. It's been interesting. But I think it's important. Even now, when I go around the state, like the other day, I was in Canfield, I guess. I still stop and, as President State Bar, instead of doing the usual rah-rah lawyer speeches by the President State Bar, I'd talk about why judges matter. And I'd ask everybody in the room, you know somebody who's been divorced? And they all look around and say, raise your hand. Everybody knows somebody. They raise their hand. Then they get the idea. Everybody here knows somebody's been adopted or adopted a child? Anybody here hear of somebody being sentenced to jail for 10 years? Sentenced to death? Law declared unconstitutional? I say, by the way, all those acts are judicial acts. Not the President of the United States, not the governor, not Congress, not the General Assembly can do any of those things. And yet now, I don't want you to raise your hand. How many of you can remember who you voted for judge or against whom in the last 2 or 3 elections? Everybody's going, I don't know. So my idea is to get people to think more about why the courts matter in their lives on a day-to-day basis. Even something as simple as, and it's not simple, but to think about, what if you have a 19-year-old who's been convicted of felony murder, where he didn't actually commit the murder, but he was with the murderers, and the trial judge gives him 40 years to life for a 19-year-old. Well, too old to be in juvenile court, but pretty young. Is that right? I mean, courts matter a lot more than people think. If I win this election, I'm going to make a big effort for the education, because even the ABA has a program. It's called the Least Understood Branch, and it's a problem that people don't understand what judges do. And it's just, but it's important.